The purpose of this video is not for tourism. So, I grabbed some statistics off the internet and I want you to just take a look at them right now and come up with a few questions for each of these little boxes. Take for example, look at the first box, population 127 million. Something like 20 odd Japan's land area fit inside Australia, yet the population is 127 million. Compare that to Australia's. The other thing that could be of interest to you here is just how important Japan is economically with Australia. For example, down here, Australia's second largest export market is Japan. So a lot of businesses rely on a good relationship with Japan. But as I said, that's not the purpose of this video. I want to talk about the language, the Japanese language. And just like all languages, including the fantastically complex English language, it's gradually evolved over time. Very little is actually known of the writing systems and the languages before the arrival of Buddhism and the Chinese writing system in the mid-6th century. The earliest written texts were all actually in classical Chinese. However, it had a distinct Japanese grammar influence. The first and still existing written text of substantial length is the Kojiki, which is called the Account of Ancient Matters in English. And that's from around about 712 AD. And that was written in classical Chinese, and as I said, with a distinct Japanese influence. When the Chinese language writing system came over to Japan, it actually fused with the native languages that existed already. And as you can see in this map here, the Ainu were pushed upwards towards Hokkaido. The modern Japanese language has often been described as incredibly difficult for native English speakers, and there is some substance to this side of the debate, definitely. And it's due to the blending of three distinct writing scripts, all of which could be used in the one sentence. And these scripts are Kanji, Hiragana, and Katakana. As you can see in this photo here, all three of those scripts are actually used to communicate. The first script was Kanji, and these are Chinese characters, and they arrived via correspondence, on gifts, and other decorative objects on the Silk Road via China and Korea around about the 1st century, well, ever since the 1st century AD, but most extensively with the arrival of Buddhism around the 5th and 6th century. Each character has its own meaning. However, the way in which it's read is a bit more complicated. Kanji readings are categorized as either having onyomi, which is the sound-based reading from Chinese, or kunyomi, which is the meaning-based from the native Japanese languages. So most kanji have two ways to be read, or often many, many more, and this makes it very distinct from Chinese language. As of 2010, all junior high school and high school students in Japan are required to learn 2,136 kanji characters, known as the Joyo kanji. The second script is Hiragana. It was developed from kanji gradually over time, and it's somewhat less complicated with less strokes and a curvy, flowing appearance. Initially, it was not the favoured script of men, but gained in popularity with women. And one of the most famous novels in literature, The Tale of Genji, was written by a lady-in-waiting of the imperial court, Murasaki Shikibu. And that was written around the 11th century, and using hiragana extensively. In English, we use the alphabet to represent our sounds, but in Japanese, they use the goju on, and that means 50 sounds, where each sound is represented by a hiragana character. And as you can see in this top table, the sounds are organized into a table of 5 by 10 with 5 individual vowel sounds, a, I, u, e, o, and then 9 rows or columns, the way you look at it, of a consonant placed in front of the vowel. So the second row or column places the consonant K in front of the 5 vowel sounds. So K, instead of a, I, u, e, o, becomes ka, ki, ku, ke, ko. Over time, several of these sounds, they're actually known as syllables instead of letters, fell out of usage, and so we now commonly learn 46 characters or syllables. But unlike kanji, hiragana do not have any meaning. They just represent a sound. So they're used actually as the core of the written language, the Japanese written language, and are used for all native words that do not have a kanji. Katakana are used for the same corresponding 46 syllable sounds as hiragana. It was developed by Buddhist monks in the Heian period, which was from 794 to 1185 AD. And it was used by the monks as a form of shorthand for reading their scriptures. The function and appearance are different from hiragana, though, where hiragana are round and flowing, etc. Katakana are characterized by straight lines and sharp corners in their strokes, as you can see here. Like hiragana, they also do not have meaning. They just represent the sound. But the function of katakana is quite different from hiragana. They're used for a few things, such as words borrowed from English and other languages. So an example would be in this picture here. If you look at the first one, it's rafting. The next one says canoe, taki. Or this third one here, trekking. I could go on, but these words obviously are borrowed from the English language. They're also used for names of people or places that are not Chinese or Japanese. For example, obvious example would be Australia, and we'd write Australia in katakana, and the pronunciation is Australia. It's also used for onomatopoeic expressions. It's also used for trendy expressions or phrases. You often see it on magazine covers. And it's also used for emphasizing in advertising, like company logos and products like Sony is actually written in katakana. There is one more way of writing Japanese, and that is using Romaji. And that's the method of actually romanizing the Japanese language using the alphabet. The earliest records of this happening was around about 1548 and the arrival of the Portuguese. The Portuguese missionaries had a desire, obviously, to translate their Catholic books into the Japanese language for preaching and converting. Anyway, nowadays, all Japanese who have attended elementary school since World War II have been taught to read and write Romaji, although it's pretty rare in Japan to use it for any official documents, etc., or anything of a more formal nature. Nevertheless, it is a necessary skill to have in our rapidly globalizing and technologically dependent lives. Many, but not all, keyboards and smartphone touchpads require that romanized Japanese input. So, for example, if you look at the keyboard on your computer, you'd have to write using Roman letters, Japanese words, and you'll be doing that as well. When you write it in a romanized way, to change it into Japanese, it usually has a little help with the space bar and the enter, which converts it into either hiragana, katakana, or kanji. When traveling around Japan, you often see Romaji at train stations, like in this picture here. You can see all the scripts, actually, except for katakana. We've got kanji on top, hiragana here, and the Romaji reading of that train station below.